It's a wonderful topic for us at Ananda because we lived with one of the greatest leaders of all times, and some of us were trained by Swami Kriyananda, and not just the ways of yoga and meditation and yoga in daily life, but he trained people on how to be good leaders, how to be able to work with people, how to be able to inspire people, how to be able to build communities, how to be able to lead communities, centers, meditation groups. And this is a great blessing in our lives. You could say that Swami Kriyananda was trained by one of the greatest leaders as well of all times, Paramahansa Yoganandaji. We may even say that Paramahansa Yogananda was trained by one of the greatest leaders, Swami Shukteswarji. You may say that Swami Shukteswarji was trained by one of the greatest leaders, Ledi Mahashaya, and then he, Babaji, and so forth. And so a part of our spiritual path is leadership. And if you find yourself in that position today or in another, at another point in your life, it's a part of the spiritual path, it's a part of the teachings, it's something that we all should, in one way or another, embrace and be able to do. So of course, in the short amount of time that we have this evening, I can't go through a lot of points on leadership with you, but I will hit some of the central ones. The first one is a very interesting one. I meditated on this, and I had the thought, it's probably not one that many people would think about, but the leader, a good leader has to have vision, of course. A good leader has to be in attunement with a higher reality, has to be able to uplift his consciousness, to be able to feel inspiration, feel direction, feel inner guidance. That's one aspect of good leadership, and that means meditation. That means, it's one way or another, attuning to the higher source within ourselves, taking time, spending time alone, perhaps, every day, having a little bit of time to go within. That's one part of the equation. The other part is what I was thinking about earlier today. A good leader has to be able to transmit the thoughts, the inspiration, the magnetism from his own heart and soul of what he believes in, what he or she believes in, to their staff, to the people they work with, to the community, to the center, whatever. There has to be someone who's ever inspired and who's ever open to the flow of God's grace and ideas and thoughts about what to do. And besides that, the leader has to be able to transmit that into everyone else. And that's what Swami Kriyananda was able to do that better than anybody I know. He was always thrilled with whatever ideas he had. He would ask your ideas. He would share his thoughts. He would get feedback from people. It wasn't like he would just go with his own ideas. He would ask for other people's thoughts on what he came up with, and he would change this and move this around and all, but he always had inspiration flowing. And that's, I think, the most important part of being a good leader is you yourself you have to be a wellspring of inspiration all the time. Meaning you have to spend the time to attune yourself to your soul, attune yourself to God, attune yourself to what's trying to happen. A good leader can't afford not to be in tune. You have to spend the time to be able to have that attunement and to draw the ideas, inspiration, insights, whatever is trying to happen, it has to come through someone. And of course, parts of it can come through many others in the group, but one person that has a responsibility of being in tune, responsibility of being inspired 100% of the time, if it's at all possible. And it's not possible all the time, but you understand the point. Inspiration has to come through some channel. And that's the first point. The second is the leader, speaking more of supportive leadership, has to be able, they can't fear their position. They have to be able to bring people up, to encourage the others, to step up to their next step, to take more responsibility, to do more things. The leader can't say, I'm the only one who's able to do this and you should just listen to me. People have, everybody has ideas. I remember someone said to me, very strange thing, but you may find it interesting, I found it amusing, that they were saying that, you know, you're at Ananda now, and this was a black woman, and she came to Ananda village, and she said, well, now why are you listening to Swami Kriyananda? And I had been there for, I think, 30 years or something, or 25 or whatever, and she said, you're black and he's white. And I just thought, what a strange thing to even think about. And so I told Swamiji this, and because I told her, I mean, he's a fountain of inspiration and joy and yoga and techniques and everything, and you know, my guru and my guru's vibrations and energy. And so anyway, I told Swamiji this, and he had such an interesting answer. He said, you can learn from a frog. You can learn from all of life. You can learn from the clouds. You can learn from the ocean. You can learn from the moon, the sun. You can learn from the flowers. You can learn from the dog's bark. And so there's inspiration coming from everywhere. And so we should always try to inspire in others to take, what is their next step? Someone at Ananda years back asked, well, Swami Kriyananda had given them a job and an assignment. I don't remember what it was, but the person, their response was, they heard Swamiji wanted them to do this job. So they went to him and they said, Swamiji, I'm happy to do that job, but what is the job? What should I do? And he just looked at them and he said, you have to figure that out for yourself. I can't tell you what to do. I've given you the direction. Now you have to. So he would never tell you exactly what you should do. But the person grows by attuning themselves, by prayer, through meditation, through asking inwardly for inner guidance, taking one step and then the next, maybe making mistakes, and getting up and proceeding in the other direction. And so this part of allowing people to grow, giving them an assignment, it's not going to be exactly the way maybe we would do it, which would be perfect, of course, but it'll be the way that they can grow. I recall when we moved to Italy to begin our work there, and a kind of similar thing happened. Swamiji, he was with us there for a while. There were about 4 of us at the beginning, and then more and more people came. And there wasn't much that he told us to do. Now we left America, we moved to Europe, we were alone. Many of us were still in our 20s, we were young, I was fairly new at Ananda. I'd been there maybe 3.5 years, and we didn't know the language, we didn't know the customs, the culture, we had very little money, and Swamiji, he left us there. Now his thoughts and his energy and his guidance were with us all the time, but he didn't tell us what to do. He didn't leave a blueprint, he didn't leave a list, he didn't have even a weekly report from the people there. And I recall when he left, I asked him what we should do. Honestly, I didn't know what to do. And he said, Dhyana, you will have to tune in to God and to Master, to Guruji, and you'll know what to do. And I realized at that point how out of tune I was, that honestly, I mean, I didn't know how to do things, what to do, and I knew that he was exactly right. I had to meditate more, I had to really do energization properly instead of, half-baked. I had to read the books. I hadn't read most of, Masters and Swamiji's books. I had to chant, learn how to chant, do affirmations, serve more. And over time, I began to feel, and thank God it wasn't over a long time, but I began to feel what Master wanted there. And it began to come into my consciousness. Do this, go in this direction, call these people, have these kind of classes, start this. And I remember very clearly I grew up spiritually once I had that responsibility. And Swami Kriyananda could have laid it out for us and checked in every day and stayed with us and told us what to do and told us this is right and this is wrong. No, he allowed us the blessing of doing it ourselves so that we could grow spiritually. So one of the important things is to allow other people to grow themselves, give them a responsibility. It's a lot like the image of the bicycle image Swami Kriyanandaji's talked about, where when he was young, a little boy, he got a bicycle in his neighborhood and nobody else had a bicycle. So he taught all his friends, other little kids, how to ride. So he'd put them on the bike and they'd start, going, and he would hold on to the back of the bike and run along with them until he felt they were sure, and then he would let go. And that's how it is on the spiritual path. When we're giving other people responsibilities to grow, we're holding onto the bicycle. It's not, and he held on to the bicycle. It wasn't that he just let us go and crash into the trees. You hold on, but you allow the person to be able to grow. And I found, particularly here in India, that people are a bit shy about that. They go, I don't know, is this right? Is this how you would like it? Is this the correct way? And I just do the job. Have fun. Get creative. Think of ideas. How can you do it better? And I mean, you can't really, if it's decorating the altar, you can't really go that wrong with decorating an altar. Just put your heart into it. And so allow people opportunities to do this, or to be in charge of the volunteers, or to be in charge of the altar, or to be in charge of the readings, or whatever it is. There's so many various things. But to be in charge of it is different than helping you to do it when you're doing everything and they're carrying things around for you. So allow people that chance, and you find that people really, they begin to grow, and they begin to grow in beautiful ways. The next area I wanted to touch on is a little bit related to the last. It's about teamwork. Now, this is a very important point, that we can't work on our own. We can't do everything ourselves. We have to have others helping us. Our motto, one of our mottos at Ananda Village is many hands make a miracle. That we all together can take different parts of a job or a particular project and add our energies to it. And then things work out wonderfully, and then more people are involved. I read a wonderful book that I hope all of you can read. It's called Gifted Hands, and it's by Dr. Ben Carson. He's a neurosurgeon, one of the top in the U.S. at least. And I just couldn't put that book down. It's so inspiring. He came up from, basically lived in a very sort of rough neighborhood, and they were very impoverished, and he lived with just his mother and his brother, and they went through a lot of hard times. He was considered very ignorant, and they said he couldn't learn. His teachers would, laugh at him and all the students. And he just became very great. I mean, he took it upon himself to study. And he began to study and apply himself, and he became just a very, very great neurosurgeon. And he did the many surgeries that other surgeons wouldn't even come near. And he did one of the first surgeries on Siamese twins, that babies that were joined at the back of the head. And typically, one of the babies would die. So neurosurgeons just didn't want to go near those situations. But he was asked, and he was a man of God. That's the other thing I love about the book. He prayed. First he said, well, I always prayed before my surgeries. And then by the end of the book, he was saying, I prayed before the surgeries, I prayed during the surgeries, and I prayed after the surgeries for my patients. And God worked through him. But the wonderful thing is, when he did that particular surgery, it was for some German babies. It took about 6 months to get everything together, because they wanted the surgery right away. He said, no, no, no. He gathered his team together. And he had so many neurosurgeons, he had so many plastic surgeons, he had so many nurses, he had so many, he had a team of 50 people. And they all worked together. Some of them went to Germany to see the babies before and work with them and the parents, and others were preparing this and that. And the surgery took 22 hours. And they had, places for everybody, and then the plastic surgeons took over. It was just an amazing, the chapters was fabulous. I hope you had a chance to read that book. But the wonderful thing, he was so humble. At the end of all of that, they had many reporters there, and so, afterwards, the team of some of the doctors went out. And what he said was so beautiful. He said, this was because of teamwork. And, everyone wanted to give him the praise because he was the main neurosurgeon. He said, no, 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 we all did this together. And without all of those people involved, the surgery likely wouldn't have been a success. And so it's such an important thing to have everyone, involved. But the more important thing of this story, give other people the credit. If the support of leadership is, oh, that was that person's idea, instead of that's my idea, and that's my idea, and that's my idea, and that's my idea. No, give the credit to somebody else. Well, great, even if it was your idea, it's God's idea. And they did it. It's so much better, and you just get the ego principle out. And so working as a team, I remember when we first got we renovated at our first house. Some of you may have been there. In phase 1, we 10 by 8, we renovated the basement into a teaching center. At first it was, part of it was a temple, but it also was publications, it had book storage, offices, a variety of things. And so what we did was, I had in my mind what I thought should happen down there, but I didn't dare say that to people. We had a group of people who've been coming for years to the satsangs and to the classes there. So I'll never forget, after one of the meditations one Saturday morning, everybody who was there, I said, well, let's just go see how we can make this into our center. And I want your ideas and your thoughts about everything. And so people, we all walked around the whole downstairs, and people had ideas. Well, I'd like to have the boutique over here. I'd like to have the office here. I'd like to have the temple. And it was so much fun. It was so much more fun than sitting with a piece of paper and a pencil and writing down your own thoughts. And what it did was brought people in. And then it also brought people in to help to make it happen. And so some people, we had a wish list, and some people brought, plants. Other people brought ACs. Other people brought fans or rugs or pillows or altar cloths. There was a variety of things. We needed everything. And everybody who had gone around to see the place, by the time it was over, they all said, this is our center. And they all took responsibility for it. So this is the thing, if you include people in your ideas, and I never pulled out a paper and said, here's the ideas I have, I want to have this, this, and that, and the other. But just about all of them came out because we were all on the same page. And we all did it together, we cleaned the place, we did the whole renovation, and by then we were a real full-fledged center in Gurgaon. So that of bringing people together, and one last thing on those lines is, I'll read you something about this in a moment too, but it's important that you work with people and not just order people around and tell them what to do. It's natural, for many of us. I just wouldn't think of doing it otherwise. But I remember being down in our offices there, and once we got everything renovated, I just, there was so much to do then, and there was a very small staff, and so then I just started inviting people over to come and help, and everybody came and worked in the office 2 hours, one person a half a day or whatever. This person brought their computer. It was really fun. And I remember one person asked me, they said, well, Dhyana, why do you think everybody's coming to help? And I said, well, they see I'm doing it. They see me working here. I'm doing it with them. It's not like I have a list and here, go down there and do these things. We're doing it together, which makes it fun. And at Ananda Village, we have a day in May, which we call, in honor of Rajarsi Janakananda, Rajarsi Day. What I like, we go out and clean up the community, we paint, mow the lawns, put in new plants and flowers and trees and various things that need to happen. What I love most about that day is that everybody's doing everything. There's nobody who's, I've got this position so I can't plant a plant, or I'm a minister, acharya, so I can't trim the bushes. It's like everybody's doing all the jobs. And it's so much fun. And so if people see you that, maybe it can't happen every day, but it can happen a lot of the times. It's all serving together. I recall so many times in the Sangha office at Ananda Village, we would have mailing parties. Now, most things go out on email these days, but then most things went out in the post. And so we'd have like thousands of letters to go out, and one person at a desk for thousands of letters is ridiculous. So we would everybody in the whole office, 10, 12, 15 people, we'd all just sit at the tables there, and everybody would just stuff envelopes, put on the stamp, seal them, put them in the boxes, stuff, seal, put them in the boxes. And I just recall those as my most favorite days because we all did it together. It wasn't, oh no, I'm in charge of this, I can't touch the envelopes, and oh no, you can't do that because you're this. I just, why? We're all having fun. And so doing things together, whenever you can, just get people together and they will feel a part of your team. We all are many hands making a miracle. And finally, and then I want to read a couple of things from Swamiji's wonderful book on leadership. But this is a very interesting point that I got from this book on leadership. This is the way Swami Kriyananda puts this. It is the responsibility of the leader to come up with ideas, even if they think there's no ideas. They have to be inspired enough to draw the ideas. Now that's a very interesting one. You would think, well, I guess there's nothing to do, we can't do anything, we have to close up, we have to close the center, whatever. No, he said, don't let things get stagnant. Keep the energy flowing. But also it's the responsibility of the person who's in charge to allow ideas to flow. Even if you think there are none, there are some. There's infinite ideas, and they're always there. But if we close the door on them, then they won't be there. So to energize a project, the person in charge has to allow energy to flow of ideas. And we used to do this at our Sangha office as well, when we would have a meeting at Ananda Village. We would meet once a year at the beginning of the year, and each department would say, what they were planning to do for the year. But we did it in such a fun way. We had everybody think of all the ideas they had in their mind, period. And no idea was bad. And everybody wrote on little sticky notes ideas. Whatever idea you had, you just wrote it down. And we put them all up on the wall, and then organized them, and then people took on those as their responsibilities, as their jobs. But what fun that was. Otherwise, you start the beginning of the year, well, what do we do this year? I guess we do the same 5 things we did last year, and the year before, and the year before. No, there's so many ideas. I feel like sometimes I'm just popping with ideas, because they're just there in the ether. And if you keep the energy flowing, anytime it gets stagnant, there should be a brainstorming session with whoever's involved, and sit down. Now, what can we do about this? There's always an answer, there's always a solution, there's 10, there's 100, there's 1,000 possibilities. But if we say there aren't any, there aren't any. And so to keep the energy flowing, not to be fixed, it can't be this way, it can't be that way. And I've been in different situations, and in Europe, in Australia, in Africa, now in India, where actually every place, in America of course, every place that I went for Ananda, it had to be approached in a little bit of a different way. Now, isn't that interesting? When we went to Italy, the one thing Swamiji did say about our retreat facility there, which we had, he said, don't make it like the one in America. And I said, oh no, that doesn't leave us any possibilities. But he said, no, just feel out what's right for Italy and the Italians and the Europeans. So we had to figure it all out and feel. Then in Africa, it was completely different than Italy. And even the chanting, they had their own way of chanting the same chants, but they're just a little lilt, and it was beautiful. It was just a little bit different. Australia was different. India is very different than America. Swamiji even taught. Swami Kriyananda taught differently in America, taught differently in Europe, he taught differently in India. And so if we get stuck that this is the way it has to be, it's like this, and this is the only way, it just doesn't work. And even from year to year, what's trying to happen now? Month to month, week to week, day to day, there's always new approaches, always other ideas that are coming through. So we have to be open to what those are. And ideas can come, from other people as well, so many of them. I remember a time when I had this really strong inspiration to put together a VCD. I don't think we have VCDs anymore, maybe we do, but of energization and some of the super conscious living exercises. So me and a friend, we were talking, and it was just a wonderful session. I remember that. We had so many wonderful ideas about it. And even if we didn't know how we were going to make it, but we had the ideas, and the ideas were flowing, and I just knew Master's behind this. He wants this to happen. And I got up from there after maybe an hour of brainstorming, how to do it, what we'd have on there, who would do it, and all this. We just didn't know, who of us would do it, would do the exercises. And I went into the kitchen from, it took me half a minute to get to the kitchen from where we were. And a man walked in, and he said, Dhyanaji, I haven't seen you in so long. I just came just to see you today, and I've been wanting to come here. I hadn't seen him for at least a year. And I said, oh my gosh, how are you? And he says, oh, I'm fine. And you know, in the back of my mind as the VCD was going, how am I going to get the VCD? And anyway, so he starts talking, and then, you know, and he said, but my work is just holding me, I have so much work. And I finally asked him what his work was, and he worked for a television station. And I said, well, I'm just trying to get this video of energization and superconscious. He said, I can do that just like nothing. And what a wonderful thing. We had the idea, we just let it fly. We didn't stop it. We don't know who's going to do it. We don't have the money, we don't have the person. We just let it go, let it go, let it go. And then a man walks in and he picks up the idea. Within 2 weeks, we had the VCD. And so, if you think of that there's always inspiration, always ideas, God is full of ideas and wants to give them to people who are open. And so, in supportive leadership, we support the fact that there are those ideas and they can come through many people and help many people. I want to close with a couple of readings from this great book. I hope you can get your hands on it. It's The Art of Supportive Leadership. And I'll just end with a couple of quotes from Swami Kriyanandaji. Things that maybe I haven't had a chance to touch on. Genuine leadership is of only one type, supportive. It leads people. It doesn't drive them. It involves them. It doesn't coerce them. It never loses sight of the most important principle governing any project involving human beings, namely that people are more important than things. Another one, the most important thing in leadership is to keep the creative energy flowing. As long as it continues to do so, that flow will itself generate ideas. It will melt away obstacles, open up new possibilities, and create a host of undreamed of opportunities. And I have two more. In any situation, responsibility means focusing simply on getting the job done. It means finally taking responsibility for finding creative answers, even when one has every excuse for finding none. And then finally, a true leader is neither attached to success nor afraid of failure. He knows that success is not so much the completion of a specific project as the energy that goes into completing it. Projects can be destroyed, but never energy itself. The definitions of success are legion, as are also the techniques for teaching it. The most important thing this book can add to those multifarious definitions and techniques is this simple truth and rule. The outcome of any project always reveals, however subtly, the kind of energy that went into its development. Om Shanti Shanti. Namaste and good night to all of you.